Yes. Thank you, FedEx. Awesome. Alright guys, we've got some big updates planned for the Ranger coming here soon. We're going to talk about some of these parts that we're going to install on it. Back when we went to Moab earlier this year, we spent about 12 hours a day in the truck for a week straight. That amount of time wore down my body and I realized my suspension needed an upgrade. It works how it is, however, it's going to be much better after this. As you can see, we got a bunch of parts to install. We're super excited about it. So what we're going to do, we're going to do a 4-link on the rear, and then on the front, we're going to swap out the coils, and we're going to use a coilover shock setup. The link joints for the 4-link on the Ranger are going to be using these Ballistic Fabrication Forge joints. Originally, I was going to use Barnes Enduro joints. Chris picked these up for his Suburban. They're a really nice piece, but I found these ballistic joints here locally. The ballistic joints, like the Barnes joints, are rebuildable and greasable. These ballistic joints have a 1-inch shank. These Barnes joints have a 1 1/4-inch shank. Both joints have adapters that we're going to weld into 2-inch quarter wall diameter tubing, and that's how the links are actually going to be made. So we got the axle truss from Barnes 4-wheel drive. There's 2 little winglets that also extend it down the axle tubes. I don't have those up here on the table. And it's going to plant right on top of the 9-inch, and it fits the axle tubes really well. We already did a little test fit. This is an adjustable bracket from Artec Industries. As you see, there's 2 holes so I could change the height, and this will weld on top of the axle truss. From Ballistic Fabrication, upper and lower frame sign bracket complete into 1 unit. I already welded them together. I haven't cleaned up any of the welds, so for those of you in the HD on YouTube, be forgiving, please. But I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to use these how I want to. I want to make sure I get the right amount of angle in my link geometry. So just in case, I also from Ballistic Fabrication have just a upper mount, and if I need to, I can cut this in half and just use one side of it for the lower and kind of do a Frankenstein setup and make it all work. Now, coilovers. These are some coilovers from King Shocks. They just came in. Really excited about these. This is what's going to help smooth out the ride in the Ranger and make it much more enjoyable for our bodies. One thing that is awesome about these and how they're going to help smooth out the suspension so much is they are extremely tunable and adjustable. You'll notice there are 2 different sizes. This is a 2.5 16-inch and this is a 2.0 14-inch. The first number, 2.0 or 2.5, that is shock body diameter. So this is 2 inches and this one is 2.5 inches. For the front, we're going to use these 14-inch 2.0s, mainly for packaging purposes. The rear, we have a lot of room for activities, so that's why I went with a bigger 2.5 and 16-inch travel. So these are what's called a dual rate coilover. What that means is there's 2 different spring rates that are going to help cushion the ride of the Ranger. The lower spring is called the mainspring. The upper spring is called the tender spring. They're usually different rates. On the front, we have a 200 over 200 spring rate. The rear, however, we have a 150 over 200 spring rate. It's going to be riding on the tender spring or the upper spring in most modes of travel. Whenever we start getting some compression on that side, the slider is going to move up the shock, contact the stop, and then transition to our second rate, which is usually the heavier mainspring. So as we go through travel, it is going to get stiffer as it gets closer to full compression. That's going to help keep the smaller bumps nice and soft, and then if we hit a big bump, we have some extra spring at the back end to prevent a massive shock load onto the truck. Both shocks, I decided to go with the remote reservoir setup. So this is the remote reservoir right here. There's a Schrader valve on this end, so it's charged with nitrogen because that is an inert gas and it's temperature stable. Inside the reservoir is a floating piston. What this reservoir does, it does give us a lot more volume of fluid. so that helps with shock fade. But it also, with the nitrogen on it, it keeps the fluid from getting foamy. Another major advantage of these coilover shocks is they are rebuildable and they are revalvable. Any small part on these brakes or wears out, I can replace it at a much cheaper price than getting a different shock. Inside the piston, there's 2 valve stacks, one for compression and one for rebound. So what that does, compression is the shock going this way, rebound is the shock going this way. I could change those valve stacks to tune the shock to perform the best for my truck. I've never worked on coilover shocks before. A 4-link setup is completely new to me. There's going to be some learning and some trials and tribulations getting these things set up. You guys are going to get to see all that in upcoming videos. So this is just an intro to this, and I'm really excited about it. It's going to be awesome. These Kings, they're beautiful. They're almost too beautiful for me to even want to install them. I just want to like mount them somewhere where I can look at them all the time. But we're really excited to get going on these projects. We got 4-link coming on the Suburban here soon, 4-link on the Ranger, coilovers up front on the Ranger as well. Paint, we're going to paint the Ranger, sneak preview. We're excited. I hope you guys are excited. Stay tuned. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. You guys will get to see all of this. Let's go.